that the Food and Agriculture Organization has, the WHO has, the United Nations has, the country has, all of us should have, is if there is a problem in the supply chain of food, how do we find out where it is happening from? How do we quickly stop this? So this particular center is responsible. They work with so many different government agencies, and we have a public health residency program, one of a kind in the country, where students are exposed to these issues. Okay? We also have another center called the Center for Animal Health and Food Safety, another one which is called the Center for Excellence in Influenza Research, and I talked to you about the diagnostic lab and these other centers. So all in all, what I have tried to illustrate to you from the standpoint of our college, our teaching programs, the main mission that we have, and what we are trying to inculcate. Now, when Dr. Hassan and I spoke, and Dean and I, we spoke when he visited last year, my real job is I'm the research dean for the college. So the entire research portfolio runs through the office that I run. So several years ago when I moved to the College of Veterinary Medicine in Minnesota, I was asked to look at the entire research program for the college and to develop a mechanism by which we could do cutting-edge research. Research that is at the forefront and that is done in a collaborative way. And what I will talk to you today is the experience that we have gained in Minnesota. And I will leave it up to you to see if any of this is useful for you to implement in your strategies as you look at your own research enterprise. So the rest of the conversation is a little more research-centered. I'm sure some of you as students who are sitting here will someday want to be in a research environment as well. So we have created, and I'll tell you the story of really this concept of what we have called the concept of one medicine. It's actually one medicine, one science, or COMOS that we call. This is what we are advancing with the college. It has nothing to do with one department or one person's research. It is the collective research enterprise for the college, where we are trying to promote this concept of one health at the interface of animals, humans, and the environment. The world we live in today, that is what it is. For every college, this is the same. This is not unique to our college. This is probably an exaggeration. I don't know who took this picture, but I always find it fascinating that we see this. But the reality is, we live with our pets. This is the scene from any backyard these days where animals are coming in close contact with humans. So the way we approached research at the veterinary school is we looked at ourselves and said, where are we? We are part of what is called the academic health center. I told you in the beginning. So that means it is all these schools, the medical school, nursing, public, where the focus is on human medicine. But they are beginning to increasingly appreciate that several of the issues they are seeing stem from zoonotic diseases and public health issues where animals are well. So we are working together with them. We are also part of the agricultural campus and the Institute on Environment. So we are connected with that piece, the human health piece, and the agricultural businesses and the organizations that are involved in this process. So we see ourselves as a mini universe where we are the little sun and the other centers are planets around us. So we are trying to connect with these different pieces because it is always the sum that is larger than the parts. Right? So that is the driving force by which we developed our research programs. So we created a strategic plan. Every university, every college creates these strategic plans of what is strategic for us. But most places, a strategic plan is created, it is nicely printed on a lovely glossy paper, and that paper goes into a cover, and we visit that 5 years later. So it is not practiced many places, including where I came from. So we said, let us create a program, a research strategy that is multidisciplinary and focused based on the core competencies of the college. We need to derive from the strengths of what we already do. It is aimed at generating resources to support our current high-impact research and for new and emerging and critical programs. That is the key, because we cannot be satisfied doing what is great today. We have to anticipate the needs for tomorrow. And if we wait for those needs, we will be struggling. So if we are already prepared for it, we can deliver it. So that is the concept. So that's the issue of being responsive to emerging issues. We have to create facilities to attract the next generation of faculty. People have to say, that is the place that I want to go and work. Students need to feel that is where, that would be my #1 choice to go to. We have to broaden networks. The world that we live in today, it is no longer my little world. I have to interact with you and you and you, because you have strengths in different things that I don't have. And together we can solve. So you always have to ask questions then. So our research strategy, I stated a few fundamental questions. I said, what are our core values and philosophy? Every institution has its own core values and philosophy. That is unique to your organization. If we are going to transform research culture, how will that transformed research culture look like? You need to have a definition of that, a sense of wanting to know what that is. What is that new research vision going to look like? What are the barriers? The most important thing is recognizing barriers. To me, when I went there, the single biggest barrier that I noticed at the College of Veterinary Medicine in Minnesota was that research was done in what we refer to as silos, individual compartments. Each department felt that it was just their research. The connections were not being made in a dramatic way. So we said, why is that? And clearly you need to have a vision, not for the next 2 years, but 5 and 10 years out. The long-term vision is as important as the short-term vision. So we created something like a 2-5, so some are immediate goals, some are tactical for the next 5 years, and some are long-term goals. For example, the long-term goal could be building an enterprise that needs X, Y, and Z. Right? And these are different for each people, and I'm just trying to show you what we did. So we said, we will define the research that we do at our school and call them signature programs. It does not matter which department that research is being done. Let's define 3 or 5 focus areas that truly defines what we do and connect people based on that. So we said, what are these areas of emphasis? Why now? And why us? What are the existing and potential resources for supporting something like that? And what kind of partnerships will it lead to? These are all fundamental questions that we need to ask ourselves. And I am telling you, after having done this, I applied this kind of a logic for simple things that I do at home. The children will say, I have two daughters. My older daughter is 22 and the younger daughter is 16. They have questions. And my wife and I will keep thinking we should be planning. I apply this kind of logic now because it goes beyond just the fundamentals. And I'm sure a lot of you already do this in your day-to-day life. So we put all this together. We brought faculty from across departments. We said, sit down in a round table. Nobody is wearing their departmental tag anymore. You are the College of Veterinary Medicine. And we also brought people from other colleges to participate in this tactic, in this exercise. And we said, let's define what are we good at. So there were people who were working in 3 different departments but had common interests. Their fundamental interests were different. One was doing the same thing in a larger animal, one was doing the same thing in a smaller animal. Their interests were common. So it was putting that kind of a broad umbrella to it where we came up with these 3 signature programs that define the research that we do at the College of Veterinary Medicine. One is called comparative medicine, the other one is emerging and zoonotic diseases, the third one is population systems. The names actually are quite simple to understand. And we have said these are 3 distinct programs, and yet there are synergies between these 3 programs that bring together, people together. So through our strategic plan, we have come up with this 5 to 10 year program. I'm not going to belabor what all this is, but we've kind of created the structure of now, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, of what we want to do. So we are somewhere here at this place right now, having started this. And we have accomplished several of the goals we set out to. We have failed in a few. We are halfway to others. So we are assessing, did we do everything we promised ourselves? If we haven't, why weren't we able to do it? And some things we thought were important 5 years ago, but now things have changed, so we have to abandon and start something else. So that means one needs to be flexible in doing this sort of thing. But one thing that we do keep in mind is you can change this for anywhere. You can put that for Ankara. But we truly believe that what we are doing is impactful. What we are doing is actually global in essence. We have things that we are doing in a big way in Africa. We have physical presence in Africa, University of Minnesota building that we have now in Uganda. We have a lot of our faculty working in Southern America. We're doing work in Southeast Asia. So we are truly spanning out and creating a presence for the University of Minnesota. And we do this through partnerships, none of which is meant to be that we go there and we say we know. No. We are going there with things that we know what to do. We want to learn from what you know better than us, and together, what can we do to do problem solving? That has been our strategy. So, this concept of one medicine, one science really is a collaborative effort between multiple disciplines working locally, nationally, globally to attain optimal health for humans, animals, and life. That is the simple strategy, which can be applied for any institution. We call this a concept, we call this a culture, we call this a center that we have put together. So let me talk to you briefly about a little bit about the research, and that was one of the topics that we were interested in. The first one is comparative medicine. And I put together this detailed kind of a slide. People have asked me, what does comparative medicine mean? You've all heard the term comparative medicine. The different definitions, but I think broadly speaking, they are similar. And it goes anywhere from, if you just do Wikipedia, which is everyone's answer for current information, right? It says it's the field of study concentrating on similarities between similarities and differences between veterinary medicine and human medicine. But I think it's a little more than that. Another one said it's a study of human disease by comparison with diseases of animals, depending largely on the work of naturally occurring diseases in animals that are models for human disease. One can think of the opposite. Why can't the reverse be true, where humans can be used as models for animals? It's not realistic, but why not? Really, I think the definition that I relate to is comparative medicine is the study of animals, their biology as well as their pathology, for the purpose of understanding strategic adaptations that animals have made so that this new knowledge might be used to improve the health of the human condition and of animals. That is the definition that I think we all need to keep in mind, especially those of you who are going to go into small animal medicine, those of you who are doing research in small animal medicine. If you look at the research that I do, I have an interest in allergy and airway disease. And we're looking to working with people who have interest in atopic dermatitis. Dogs are a big problem. We're looking at respiratory area obstructive diseases in horses. Dogs don't have asthma per se, the pathology is slightly different. And so while I'm working with some of our veterinary colleagues in the vet school, we're also working with faculty in the medical school, and I have a joint appointment there also. We have a number of our faculty in the vet school have joint appointments in the medical school or in the School of Public Health. So we're trying to do these things together. So if you look at these animal models of human disease, increasingly, companion animals are leading the lives of their owners. They're living in homes, they're eating similar kind of foods. They're getting arthritis, they're getting diabetes, they're getting heart failure, they're getting all kinds of cancers that are so similar to human conditions. So instead of trying to do much of this research in mice where people try to create disease, if we understood what's happening in these companion animals, they're getting stones, sorry, can't ignore that. If we understood how it was happening in these animals normally, if we understood the genetics, the polymorphisms that are taking place that are driving it, we can understand human disease also and help each other out. We're helping the animal condition and the human condition. And that is the power of comparative medicine. So at our college, just so that you, especially the faculty who are here, might be interested in knowing what research we do, we have said we cannot do everything in comparative medicine. We need to have certain focuses. Each university needs to decide what strengths they have. Ours is in oncology and cancer biology, inflammatory and chronic diseases, and molecular and genetic models of animal disease. These are the three areas that we, as a college, are focusing on. In inflammatory and chronic diseases, our focus areas in allergic diseases and asthma, acute lung inflammation, which is a huge problem, other immune-mediated diseases. We are working on osteoarthritis and IBD, jaw and saddle, or IBD, and esophagitis. We've seen a lot of clinical cases come to our hospital, and we're trying to see the pathology of the disease, which seems to be similar to the human condition. And pain. Pain is another area that needs a lot of attention. Animals go through as much pain, and we don't recognize the research that needs to be done. They are definitely helpful in the human condition. So these are a number of parallels that we can There are a number of faculty. If you look at it, the reason we call them signature programs is if you look at these faculty, they don't represent any single department. They are across departments. This is animal models where we use for studying genetic and metabolic diseases. We're focusing on neurologic and muscular and orthopedic. as well as diabetes, urology, nutrition, and these are all faculty from different centers and different topics. The focus here in this program is to enhance diagnostic capabilities, understand the basic biology of these tissues, how the treatment regimens are working with farmers, a lot of pharmaceutical companies that come and work with us. Epilepsy is another case where we are doing a lot of that, because dogs, particular breeds of dogs, they get a lot of epilepsy. And we are trying to put these probes into these dogs that help detect these incidents of epilepsy. And I'm just very interested in it because it has human application. So understanding risk factors and also biomarkers is the next big wave where we have better biomarkers through all these omics-based approaches. The final piece is comparative oncology. We have a lot of faculty who are hired in these areas of genetics, immunology, imaging, stem cells. And we are doing both experimental and development therapeutics. We're doing a lot of genetics work and focusing on pain associated with cancer and cancer imaging. And so this is just kind of an overview of what happens. Again, you will see faculty that are spread across the medical school and our own college. A lot of our faculty, for example, Dr. Moliano, who's a veterinarian, is a faculty in the vet school as well as a faculty in the medical school. We as a university have figured for our research to succeed, it has to go beyond our college and our university. So we have created a joint program with Indiana University, Purdue, and with Eli Lilly Corporation for comparative medicine. Every year we fund research that brings together investigators along teams in this area. As you know, in the human setting, drug discovery needs to be done. It has to go through discovery, through lead development, clinical trials, preclinical trials. It's a long process. While that is going on the human front, we are trying to develop the same paradigm for animals, using this concept of discovery through clinical trials within the animal thing in a much abridged fashion. In 3 years, can we come out with a novel drug? So let's get this up. The second program where we have a lot of interest, almost a third of our entire faculty are in the infectious disease area. How many, if you were to take a look at faculty, how many of you are in the infectious disease area? Not so much. So increasingly, we are living in this world of what we call as convergence. The convergence of genetics, biological factors, domestic animals, humans, wild animals, wildlife, politics and the physical. All this is coming together. And if you look at infectious diseases today, those of you who are veterinary students need to recognize this in a way that will be very important when you are in practice later on. That 75% of the emerging infectious diseases are considered zoonotic today. It is transmitted from animals to humans. And way back itself, it was identified that these emerging and zoonotic diseases are going to have a worldwide impact. So, as I mentioned, a third of our faculty are involved in this. And this particular signature program aligns with what we are calling as an infectious disease corridor, connecting veterinary faculty to faculty in medical school, nursing school, public health, because everybody is interested in this disease. And if we don't come together, the viruses that are emerging, that will jump from animals to humans, if we don't have that interactive understanding, we are going to miss out on a lot. So, we created a guiding principle based on the fact that we will be looking at supporting and advancing the pathogenesis of emerging diseases, how to develop novel and targeted biosurveillance, how to develop new diagnostic tests, vaccines, with a focus on foodborne diseases, especially that are economically important factors. And these are, our faculty are particularly interested in some of these foodborne pathogens, like Salmonella, E. coli. We're interested in understanding the host responses, understanding how the epidemiology figures out, specifically looking at certain of these viral and bacterial infections, and understanding these mucosal and host immune responses. So really, I think the reason why this is important is many of the diseases that we thought were problems of the past are coming back. Some of them are coming back even more strongly than before. So we need to have a pulse, a finger on the pulse all the time. And unless you have the expertise, it is hard for you to react to a situation. As a premier veterinary school, if there is an outbreak, the likelihood that the state will want your information. And if you have the faculty or the research, you can at least start addressing some of these issues. As I mentioned, these are the areas: those pathogen interactions, microbial, ecology, epidemiology, and pathogens. So we have an immense interest in antibiotics. That's a problem in Europe. It's a problem in Southeast Asia as much as it's in North America. The increasing use of antibiotics, the controversy that animals are being fed antibiotics, keep them healthy. Those antibiotics are being eaten by us humans. So the antibiotic resistance is going down in circles. It's controversial. Some people don't believe that is a problem. There are other people who strongly believe that the antibiotic resistance that humans are developing is coming from the animal use. So these are fundamental issues that we need to be looking and addressing in our communities and beyond. So let's take this. The third program is what we refer to as population systems. And the previous program with infectious disease was working at an organism level. How do you understand the genetics of that virus, the pathology, the biochemistry of that virus, the immunology of that virus? How does host cell interaction look like? How does immunity build? But we need to, especially this is more important for those in public health and in the veterinary community, what happens at a population level, not just one individual animal or one organism. So we at our college, we're looking at ensuring the sustainability of livestock health in Minnesota and beyond. So we have faculty that are part of the livestock health program, which I think a lot of you have here. But for us, an important area that we're looking at is biosecurity and surveillance. In the US, we have to be particularly careful with biosecurity and surveillance. The other piece is ecosystem health. This is a program we started about 7 years ago, where we're looking at improving health of livestock and wildlife and humans in this age of widespread and complex environmental change. The environment is changing so rapidly that any of our predecessors had seen that we need to have, because it cuts into issues of food security because of the biodiversity changes that are taking place. The third piece that is very important, where the College of Veterinary Medicine in Minnesota is actually at the forefront, is in the global food systems issue. When something goes wrong, we are called from the White House. We have some faculty who are running these programs, who are ensuring that a safe and dependable global food supply chain takes place for these things. The single biggest concern that the government has is, and they will not admit to it anywhere, is what happens if the food that you eat is contaminated. Unintentional to that. Intentional contamination. The world that we live in today, how do you safeguard that? And people who are responsible for these programs are applying science-based tools to exactly figure those things out. When food in trucks crosses your borders, it comes from a neighboring country and into your country. The border check patrol, even if it happens from the US